Hi everyone, welcome to this webinar. We're going to be covering enhancing your Google to use tomorrow. So if you have a Google account, you're going to be learning all kinds of things that you can do right now with your Google account. If you don't have a Google account, this webinar is probably going to make you want to get one because there's going to be a bunch of cool stuff that's going to be presented. This webinar is being presented to you through the auspices of AEBG TAP. The Adult Education Block Grant Technical Assistance Project serves AEBG funded consortia in California, and I work for OTAN, Outreach and Technical Assistance Network, which serves WIOA funded agencies in California. Whether or not you're WIOA funded or AEBG funded through a consortia, you can get a lot of trainings like this one just by requesting it through one of those entities. You can also contact me directly if you wish, mholt@scoe.net or mholt@otan.us. This presentation will be made available to you as a PDF so that you can download it, look through it, and get the information that you need later. But for right now, let's just watch. The objective of this workshop is to cover and discover as many different tools and paths to advance your Googles in and out of the classroom. In a normal workshop, I would ask you to ask questions anytime and to yell if you have to, because I'm a little hard of hearing. But we're not able to do that. This is a video, so you're going to have to rewind to rehear what is being said, or if you have questions, please go back to that slide that has my information on it and contact me. I'll be able to answer your questions via email. While we're doing this webinar, if you use Google, you know this already. Google changes constantly. It's keeping me on my feet all the time. So when I go to show you something, there might be some stumbling a little bit because the button that was red yesterday might be blue today. So a mistake is just a learning path in a different direction. We might actually be learning together. And I do tend to go into 20 different directions at one time just because things have changed and I got to find out where they changed at, and you're following along. Here we go. First thing we're going to cover is the different Googles. There are actually two different Googles, EDU and Pub. If you've heard G Suites, you know that that's a suite of tools. That's Google's Office tools, and it's available to everybody. Everyone gets to use Drive. Everyone gets to use Docs, Sheets, and Slides. The difference between EDU and Pub is that the public Google is managed by Google, which means it's pretty much free. It's a free-for-all. You can do what you want, when you want, and how you want it. And EDU is managed by an educational entity. It's a network that's managing that Google. So the G Suite's EDU is being managed by a district or a county office or just a school. Because of that, because of the management, the EDU might be precluded from using parts of Google, like YouTube. Sometimes YouTube is blocked in some sites. Well, why is that? Well, first let's look at the perks. Club perks. Here we go. You've got branded email address. So mholt@scoe.net is also a Google. Public Gmail address would be mholt@gmail.com. So if you have an email address that ends in gmail.com, then you have a public Google. If you know you have Google and it ends in @scoe.net or @sanleandro.edu or whatever it ends with, but you know it's a Google, that is a club. So why do you need to know this? Well, again, sometimes some of the things that Google allows in the public isn't being allowed in the club, and that's not Google's fault. That is your district administrator. That is your network administrator. So if you find out that you're not able to get to YouTube, contact your network coordinator and ask them to turn it on. They might not be able to. A lot of the adult education Googles are piggybacked on a K-12 district. So if you're at an adult school and you're using a G Suites EDU, you are more than likely attached to a K-12 district. And because of that, the FERPA and COPA compliancy that Google adheres to, they have to adhere to that. So they're protecting the K-12 client within that EDU. That doesn't mean that you can't have YouTube if you're in an adult education program. It can be done, but you have to work with your network administrator. Now, if you're using a pub, You can definitely access all of the tools within the public Google at gmail.com. But if you have a student that is under the age of 18, you should not use a public Google with that student unless you have permission from the administration, your administrator, from the student's guardians, from the student him or herself, and you all sign an agreement to that effect. That protects you as the teacher, and that protects the student as well. So anybody above the age of 18, no worries, no problems. You can use the pub without any question. So those are the differences between the club and the pub. Let's go on to the next slide, and we're going to get some fun stuff now. So what are these? These icons you've seen and probably ignored. And that's okay. I'm here to tell you what they are. The storage icon, that is in your drive. To make a copy, that's a way of making a copy without giving away edit rights. You're actually forcing a copy to the person that you're sharing with. The fonts icon there, Google is full of fonts and a lot of other stuff too, but you can get a lot of different fonts using that icon, or using that tool, I should say. And Keep. Some of you may be familiar with Keep. Not all of you are going to be familiar with all the wonderful things you can do within Keep. So these are the first 4 things that we're going to go over: the storage, force share, fonts, and Keep. Let's go to the storage first. So right here, you can check your storage. Here's a good difference between the pub and the club. If you have a club account, one that is administered by your network, then you have more than likely unlimited storage. But if you have a public account, then you probably only have 15 gigs of space, which is enormous on Google if you're saving everything as a Google. But if you're not, you're going to have to look out for your space. Now, things that count against your space are PDFs, images, videos, even items in trash. You're going to want to check out your storage space, and to do that, I'm going to open up a new tab. I'm going to show you mine. I'm going to go to drive.google.com. My drive is going to open up. So here's my drive, and naturally, we can see right off the bat, there is no little icon anymore. I'm going to have to change that on the slides. There is a little cloud where the little I used to be. So right here is my storage, and if I click here, aha, good deal. So if I click on how much storage I have used out of how much I have, it will list every file for me out of the folders. So I'm going to click on my drive real quick so I can show you how important that is, and it's going to save you a lot of work. If I click the down arrow next to my drive, you can see all of the folders, and as I select a folder, you will see the folders within the folders and the files within the files within the folders, and on and on and on and on. So if you, in the old days, if you want to know how much storage you were using, you actually had to click all of your arrows down until you got to the final or the end folder, and then you could count up your space, which was an enormous task. And I never did it. I just threw caution to the wind and hoped that I wasn't going over my storage space. Well, now, if you click on how much storage you're using out of how much storage you have, all of your files are pulled out, not really pulled out, but are listed in an order that you can view one by one. If you want to, you could click on Upgrade Storage, and you get this little icon here that tells you how much storage you're using and where you're using it at. So here we have Drive. I'm using 0.15 gigs out of my Gmail. I probably got some PDFs in there, and then I have some Google Photos. By the way, if you upload your photos into Google Photos, there's no space taken with it. Ooh, how cool is that? So, and if you wanted to, you could also upgrade. Now my current plan is 15 gigs, so it's free. And then you can upgrade again if you wish. There's really no need to, especially if you're an educator, don't do it. If you have a club, you've got free space. If you're on a pub, no problem, just convert to Google. All right, let's go back to our slides deck. And the next thing we wanted to cover is the force share. Now this is really cool, but I can't really show you in a webinar. I can kind of show you, but it's a little harder to do. What you do is, I could share this with you right now. I can open a slide, and I would copy the shareable link. So right here, I click on the share button, and I click on get shareable link. And when you do that, you're sharing with anybody that has the link can view. Okay, all they can do is view. All right, so just remember that all they can do is view. They're not going to be able to edit, because all you're doing is getting the shareable link to view. Okay, so I'm going to click that, and it's been copied to my clipboard. I'm going to say done. Here's where the magic starts. What you're going to do is, and I'm going to just insert it right here on this slide so you can see it in live action. We're going to paste. So what I did again is to go to this share button, right? I went and I got the shareable link. Here it is. Now we're going to follow the instructions. Right here it says within the link replace edit with preview. So we're going to take out this word edit and everything after it, no matter what it is, and we're just going to type preview. So I'm going to copy this link, and we're going to open up a new tab and paste that bad boy in there and go to the site so that you can see, voila. If I shared this slides deck with somebody as preview only, they would not see the file edit view or the menu items to edit the file. Now what they can do, they go to this options gear, and they could download it as a PDF or download as a PowerPoint. So they would be able to download as a PDF. They would be able to download as a PowerPoint. They won't be able to edit though without your permission. If you take the same link and instead of preview, you type the word copy, copy this, and I'm actually going to open up a new browser where I know I'm not signed in. So what happens is it opens up a window to choose an account. And that means that you have to have a Google account in order to make a copy of the file. And you're being forced to make a copy of the file. If a link was sent to you, you're being forced to make a copy, so you need to have a Gmail. So there's two different ways that you can share a file with somebody through Google. Let's go to the next one. This is pretty cool. Google Fonts. Need a serif that looks just right, some cursive that looks kind of curly, add them using Google Fonts and make text whirly-burly. Now there's a couple ways to get to fonts. You can actually open a new tab and go to fonts.google.com, and it should bring up a page. It has a bunch of different fonts that you can look at, and it gives you what they look like, and you can make them look different by changing the size or making it italic. Sometimes they look different because it's a paragraph instead of a sentence. You know, sentences look okay, and then paragraphs look, oh, no, you don't want that. So you can change what's being shown. You can also select categories off to the side. So there's lots of things you can do here. And then there's this plus button, and it says select this font. I don't know if you can see this, but as I hover over the plus button, it will say select font. If I do that, it will be added to my Google Drive. This is really cool, but it also takes a lot of time to do this. So you can add fonts a different way. Let's say you're creating some text and you don't really like this text right here, and you've got it selected and you're wondering what you can do. What you can do is go up to where the font face is listed, click the drop down arrow, and right up at the top it says more fonts. If you click that, what it's doing is it's actually taking you to this Google Fonts interface in a different way. So you can go through again and you can show all fonts, or you can just show serif fonts or sans serif fonts, and then you choose the one that you want. Let's say we want this Source Sans Pro. Boom. When it turns blue and there's a check next to it, that means it's been added to my list of fonts. and it's added to your list of fonts across the board. When you add a font face to Google Slides, you'll also see it in Google Docs and Google Sheets. So if you don't want it, just select the checkbox next to it, and I'm going to cancel out of here. So that's 2 ways that you can add a different Google font, and there are hundreds. The next tool that we're going to cover is Google Keep. Google Keep is a wonderful tool where you can create checkboxes of things to do, and you can make those checkboxes or those checkbox notes. You can share them with your students, and you can also assign them and give them due dates. So right here, this is what it's saying. You can assign and give due dates. You can annotate. So if you take a picture, you can put it into Drive, and then I could draw a little circle around this or an arrow pointing next to that button that I want them to click on. There's also an app that you can install on your phone. I highly recommend you do this because there are some different options allowed on the app that are not allowed on the web interface. I'm going to go ahead and click on this tab, Google Keep. I've got it all ready to go here. And within the Google app, when you have it on your phone or you have it on your tablet and you've installed keep.google.com, what you can do is record. Did you know that? You can actually record and it turns to text. I did not type this right here. I've just highlighted the text here. What I did was I opened up my phone app, I recorded,
and there I was, totally surrounded with nothing but my toothbrush to defend me.
and once I stopped, there's a little bit more there, the Keep tool, converted that to text. So not only do I have an audio that I can play for everybody, but I also have the text that I could copy and paste into any other application. Now Google just added this. You can now download the audio. Downloading, when I click on download, it's going to give me my desktop as options, and I want to show you the file extension. It's way down at the end. They give this a really long name. You can actually rename this file, but you can see right here at the end AAC. So that is an audio file that you could upload to your drive or download onto your desktop, and then you have it for later. Maybe you're just talking about an idea for a lesson, or you see something at the library that would be really good for your students to see, so you take a picture of it, you put it into Keep, and then you add some audio to it. Then you can share it with them. You can share all Keep notes with people. There's a little icon right out the bottom of all of your Keep notes, whether you're on the app or the web interface, and you can add collaborators. So we can add a person or an email to share that with. Lots of good stuff here in Keep. It's so cool. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Another cool thing that you can do with Keep on the app side, so on your phone or your tablet, they have cameras. So you can take a picture of anything and put it in your Keep. Save it for later. But here's something really cool that you can do. And you can do this on the app, or you can do it on the web interface. So as soon as you take a picture and you put it into Keep, it's going to come onto your Keep, which is available on any device you open. So I've already taken a picture using my phone. I come back a couple days later. Here's my picture, right? And here's this little button right here. It's called the More button. There's always more that you can do with Google, so test it out whenever you see it. Right here, when I click on More, I'm given some options. I can delete this note. Don't want to do that. I could change the label, so I can add a label to it and make it part of a vocabulary list or something. Or here's what I want to do. Way down here, grab image text. Boom. When I do that, it's going to give me a little message. Image text grab. Okay. And I'm going to scroll down because it doesn't really look like it did anything, does it? But if I scroll down, ooh, look at that. All of the text that was in that picture, this is a picture. So all of that text is now in my Keep note. Very cool, huh? So this is OCR, optical character recognition. It's actually a scanner built into your phone that you might not have known about. You can take a picture of anything and then have it converted to text. This is a picture of a website. Let's open it up. This is the California Adult Ed.org website, AEBG. And you see, we've got all of that right there. I'm going to go to the More button. This is a picture of a website. I'm going to grab image text, and there is all of the text from that website, because I really want to share this information with people, but I want to put it in a different format maybe. I don't want to share a picture, I want to share text. Sometimes you can't send pictures through email, but you can send text, and there it is. I don't have to retype anything. Something else that I've done in the past, and I don't have a demo here to show you, if you print really well, or if your students print really well, and you take a picture of their writing, you can upload it to Keep. And you can do this same thing that we just did and capture the text. Now, is it going to be a perfect text capturer? No, especially if the A looks a little wonky when you write it. It's not the perfect letter A. The character recognition will do the best it can. So you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to proofread, okay, which is actually a good lesson now that I'm thinking about it, isn't it? Right? So have your students take a picture of their printing, upload it to Keep, have them go to the More button, grab that image text, and then they can proofread their own writing. I'm going to go to drive.google.com, and I'm going to create a new document, because this is actually something that Google started doing, I'm going to say within the past 6 months. What they did was they added Google Keep to the core of Google Suite. And what that means is when you have core document or core apps, they all work together. So Keep, being core, will work with Drive, will work with Sheets, will work with Slides, and will work with Docs. So I'm going to go to the Tools menu. I'm going to select the Keep Notepad. And everything that I just did, the most recent thing I just did, will be in that notepad. Now, actually, everything I've ever done is right here. Oh, there's my little techie guy. So right here, we just did this one. I'm going to click, hold, and drag that Keep note into my document, and I'm going to select the picture because it's a little big, don't you think? So I'm going to make it smaller. I'm holding down my Shift key, I'm dragging the handle up, and it makes it smaller. There we go. Okay. Now you're saying, Melinda, well, that's really good, but what happens when I delete the text? Well, you can. It's okay. Because you notice right over here, the text is still on my Keep note. And you're saying, okay, well, I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to delete, all I wanted was a text. I didn't really want the image. Well, same thing. I can delete the picture and I still have the text. And if I need the picture again, it's still in my Keep. So it's being kept in my Keep. Woohoo! All right. So this, you can also add Keep notes to Slides, but not into Sheets. You can't add Keep to Sheets, but you can add them to Docs and Slides. Pretty cool, huh? Let's see here. So we've already talked about the audio and the camera. Now this is the what the app will look like. At the bottom of a Keep note, you'll have, this little icon means create a new note. You can annotate with a pen, so you can draw on the note. There's an icon for audio, so you click on that and it will create an audio file for you. And then there's the camera off to the side. So this is what the app looks like down at the bottom when you open it. And what's the name of the app? Keep. Pictures. What are you looking at? Google Photos. I can't show this to you in the webinar because I'm on a computer. But if you have the app, the Google Photo app, and you take a picture, and you have those pictures being uploaded into Google Photos, it now has an image recognition tool right here. It looks like a little square with a little circle within it. when you open up the photo that you just took within Google Photos and you select this icon, you will notice some little sparklies happening all over your photo. You wait for that magic to happen. And then what it's doing is it's trying to figure out what it is you took a picture of. So let's say you go for a walk in the woods and you see this magnificent looking flower. You've never seen it before. You don't know what it's called. Nobody with you knows what it is either. You take a picture of it. You go to Google Photos. You click on this image right here and it will tell you, oh, that's a magnolia. This is an image recognition tool. And it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it'll lead you in the right direction 9 times out of 10. And actually 9 times out of 10 it's correct. So if you have Google Photos installed, you can use that tool to figure out what it is you're looking at. Next tool we're going to cover, Chrome. Chrome does a lot of cool little things within it, and it's just pretty amazing. I'm using Chrome right now, and there are a lot of things that you can do within a tab. So I've left a few tabs open just so I could show you this. If I click on this, if I right click on this tab, I can open up a new tab. Boom, right? I can also reload the tab. So you can do the same thing by hitting the right click on the page and hitting reload. Or, you know, if all you can see, you've got a layer upon layer of tabs and windows, you can actually just click on the tab and reload. You can also duplicate a tab. It just opens up the same web page or website in a new tab. You can mute a site. Let me sync that in for a little bit. Let's say we go to youtube.com and we're watching something on writing an essay for the GED. And it starts playing and it's making noise, but I don't really want to listen to this right now, so I can mute the site. The video will keep playing, but the tab has been muted, so I don't hear it. So if I want to, because I know that the video is maybe 20 minutes long, and the first 10 minutes I don't really want to listen to it, I can come back and talk to my students, right? And then I can come back here and then hit the play button, unmute tab. Okay? Unmute site, and we're just going to get rid of that. I can also, if I have a tab that I want to make smaller, you can make tabs smaller. Why would you want to do that? Well, let's say you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tabs open, and they start scrunching themselves up, and you can't really tell what you've got open. So if you right click on it and pin the tab, there it is right here. I can go to any one of these still, but this one is pinned to my Chrome, which is really pretty cool because you can pin all your tabs and then they're all right there for you. Right? So you know this is the drive. All you got to do is click on it and you go back to your drive. You already know you're there. So you can pin your tabs. What else can you do? Oh, there's so much. So let's say you're doing some research and, oh no, I closed that tab that I didn't really want to close. What you can do is right click on any of the tabs and reopen closed tab. Here's a tab that we just closed, the YouTube video. Here's the video that we just closed. So even though you close tabs, and you, oh, I forgot. Oh, what was the address of it? Oh man, now I got to go to YouTube and do a search again. No. All you have to do is reopen closed tab. Okay? What else can you do? Oh, let's say you're doing research. You've got a lot of tabs open. You've done a lot of research. You could right click on the tab and bookmark all tabs. Now if I do this right now, it's going to bookmark all of these tabs that I have open. Okay, I don't really want to do that, but I will show you up to a point. Okay, so I'm going to bookmark all tabs. I'm not going to do it all the way, but if I want them in a new folder, let's say I have a new research project that I'm doing, I could name this research like that. and then hit save. Once I hit save, all of the tabs that I have open will go into this folder. So I don't have to look for all of those sites again. I don't have to go into my history. It's all there for me. Make sense? Alrighty, let's move on. Gmail alias. Not a lot of people know why you would do this. Let me explain. A lot of the adult education students that we work with, that we try to teach, that maybe have just come to the country and they're trying to learn English, they don't understand what an email is. They don't understand what a user ID is. They don't understand what a password is. Using a Gmail or using any kind of email is beyond them. So, wouldn't it be great if you could share an email address with them, but you managed it? So here's how it works. You have to have a Gmail account that you're willing to use, or you're not sharing, you're just willing to use it with your students. Your user ID, and you have to do this with @gmail.com. So it has to be a pub that you're doing this with. You cannot use this on the club. What's in between here is this plus sign, no special characters. What you do is you add the plus sign after your user ID, an alphanumeric denoting the student. Okay, you can have numbers in there, you can have letters in there, but no special characters. Okay, no little hyphens or anything like that. It's got just strictly alphanumeric. And then it ends with @gmail.com. Here is an example. Here's the teacher account, scoetech@gmail.com. Okay, so if you're my student and your name is Veronica Parker, and you don't have a clue how to use an email, but you need an email so that you can sign up for this special app that you're going to be using to learn English. Or you're Holly Clark and you need an email so that you can go onto a site and register, because they require registration, and registration, you need an email, right? So you give your students an account, basically. It's a fake account. It doesn't exist, okay? Google is going to ignore anything sent to it that has the alphanumeric code with the plus sign. So all of these emails that I'm telling my students to use, I'm going to tell Veronica to use vparker1, and I'm going to tell Holly Clark to use hclark2. Okay? It doesn't have to have the number. I'm going to tell Holly, okay, your email now is scoetech plus hclark2@gmail.com. I want you to go to this site, and I want you to register with that email address. So she does that. She registers with this email address right here. The email comes to me. The email comes to me if it has to be verified. So if they use this alias, you can manage that account. Okay, you're not giving them the user ID and password to your Gmail. You're telling them to use this email when they register on site such and such. Okay, and when they enter that email, if there's a verification that needs to be done, you go to a site, you register, and it says, okay, go to your email and click on this link. You will have to do that. You as a teacher will have to do that. Now, if you're doing this for 100 students, that could get a little tedious. If you're just doing it for 1 or 2, this is a perfect solution if your students don't have an email. And then when they get a little more tech savvy, they can go and create their own Gmail, and they kind of have an idea of what it is at that point, because you've given them this alias. This is kind of a hard concept to explain on a webinar. I wanted to give it a try. If you want more information about it, please give me a call and I can tell you all about it. I use Gmail aliases with students all the time. Oh, we went from Chrome to Gmail. Something else I wanted to show you in Chrome. Here we go, extensions. So there's a bunch of little icons up here at the top of my browser. They're not just pretty little pictures. They're actually extensions, and they're extensions that do things. An extension extends the capability of an app. So the app we're using is Chrome, and an extension will extend the capability of Chrome. Okay, these Pronounce is a really good one for ESL. You can go to a site, and I'm not sure it's going to work in this interface, but we're going to try it. So we're going to go to a site that's also really good for ESL, Learning English.voa news. So this is the Voice of America. So they've got different levels here. We can go to, let's just go to level 2. We get a bunch of different news articles that we can click on, and we can, here's where pronounce comes in, we can select text, go to the pronounce extension, click it.
The United States Navy is giving female service members more choices with the shape and look of their hair.
And then the student can also record. The United States Navy is giving female service members more choices with the shape and look of their hair. We stop recording, and then we can play. The United States Navy is giving female service members more choices with the shape and look of their hair. Woohoo! Now, the first question I'm always asked when I show this, oh, this is so cool. Does it save the audio? No, because they would have to have the server as big as the pyramids in order to save all the sound files that would be created. So no, it doesn't save the audio file, but your students can go in and they can repeatedly use this again and again and again. It doesn't matter. And they, can select more of a paragraph for it to read, but they're having it read to them, and then they can read it themselves to see how they compare to the English that's being spoke. Now, I don't know if you could hear that or not. It's a little computerized sound. It's not a perfect English speaker, right? It's a little computerized, but it's better than nothing. All right, so pronounce is really cool extension. Google Tone. The students have to have this installed on Chrome, and you also have it installed on Chrome. And what it will do is it will send a tone to a website. So if I was to tell everybody, okay, everybody, I want you to go to learningenglish.voa.news.com/a/us-navy-gives-women-women, right? And how long do you think that will take before we get 20 students on this website if I'm telling them where to go? Or even if I make it bigger and they have to type it all themselves? It would take at least a day and a half, I'm thinking. With Google Tone, what it does is it sends a tone. And if somebody in my proximity has Chrome and they have Tone installed, they will get a little pop-up at the bottom of their window, and it will say, Melinda is trying to send you to this site. Is that okay? And they get a link, and if they say okay, they come to this site. How cool is that? You don't have to keep repeating the same web URL over and over and over again. You just click on Google Tone, their computer hears it, they get a message down here, they click on it, boom, it opens up for them. Very cool. Office editing for docs, sheets, and slides. Also a cool tool if you have somebody in your midst that does not want to use Google Docs, Sheets, or Slides. They are just, they are hardcore Microsoft users. Not a problem. Tell them to install Office Editing because you're a hardcore Google user, as you should be. If they use Chrome, they can click on this and they can actually edit. And they can edit Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and Microsoft PowerPoint within the Chrome browser. It keeps it in Microsoft Shell. They can edit the document. Very cool tool. What else do we have here? Grammarly, very cool tool. If you're typing online, it will check your grammar. It's a very cool tool for teachers and for students, but you might need it for maybe submitting a something for funding, okay, or maybe an RFA. You want to make sure your grammar's correctly. Your grammar's correctly? Wow, I'm going to leave that in because video doesn't correct grammar, right? So Grammarly is a really cool tool as well. There's Web Paint. You can annotate and save web pages as images. So I could actually go to a web page. Let's go back here. I'm going to click on Web Paint. And I'm going to get my little pencil here, and I can draw on the web page and then take a picture of it, and then I can add it to my class lessons. This is the button I wanted you to go to. Awesome screenshot. You can do video and record a screen. Now this does not do audio, but there's an audio capture tool that does do audio, and there are also video audio capture tools within the Chrome extension suite that you can get at Google. So how do you get all these things? How do you get all these extensions? Well, you go to Chrome Web Store. I'm going to type that in, just Chrome Web Store, and I'm going to get a bunch of links. Okay, the one that usually comes up first is the one you're going to click on, Chrome Web Store extensions. So you're going to click that, and you don't have to know the name of the tool or the name of the extension in order to find it. You can actually just do a keyword. So I'm just going to type in video, and I get a bunch of extensions that I could either buy, or there are a bunch of free ones as well. And if you find that you're not exactly getting what you want, you could do video capture. There we go. So a bunch of different capture tools that you can add to Chrome. Okay, now we're going to move on to Google Translate. So Google Translate is an app. It's that you can install on tablets or phones. It's also an extension that you can put into Chrome, and it's got a web interface to it. Now these pictures that you're looking at right now, they're actually part of the app that when you install it on your phone, you'll see something similar depending on what kind of translation you're using. So you can type, you can use your voice, you can actually speak into the app and have it translate for you, or you can write with your finger in this white space down here where my cursor is floating. So that is a really cool feature. You don't have to type, you can use your finger, but the microphone tool is similar to Keep. It creates an audio file, and then you can have that translated to whatever language you need. So this second picture here is, again, of the app where you can use the camera and hover over text or in front of text and have it translate on the fly. You're not taking a picture of it yet. You're just hovering your camera over the text, and it is translating in real time. This picture that's taken here, it recognized that the text that it was being pointed at was English. I didn't tell it that it was English. It recognized that it was English, and I told it to translate to Spanish. And there we have the Spanish translation. And for those of you that speak Spanish, you can see what the working rates are. This last picture is part of the app as well, where you can download the translation that you're going to be needing onto your phone so that you can use it offline. This is really cool if you're going to be taking a trip somewhere, you're not going to be speaking the language so much. You could download the Japanese application, you could download Chinese, you could download Spanish, you can download any one of the language pairs. I don't recommend that you do this unless you're actually going to be using the language offline. So it takes up space on your phone. So you don't really need it unless you're going to be using the app offline, which means you're going to be basically out of country. So this is the app. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the web interface, because there's some things here that I'm not sure everyone knows that you can do. So I'm going to translate.google.com. It too has a microphone, and I'm going to type, "Hi, how are you?" And I'm not going to put any punctuation. Now, if you click the icon, it will read it to you. If you click it again, it will read it to you slowly. If you put in punctuation, you will have the intonation of the sentence that you've typed, and this sentence is a question, so you'll have the inflection of a question as it's reading it to you. The same thing occurs on the translation side. So right now this sentence is being translated to Spanish. I could certainly select Zulu, but you notice I've lost my audio icon. So not all languages have an audio feature. They are working on it. There's a lot more here than what used to be. So it's really a neat tool, especially for that intonation. It doesn't sound like a computer. What I really wanted to show you, because this is also a it's not only a part of the website interface, but it's actually part of the Google Chrome extensions, is the phrase book. So here are all of the translations that I've done basically as demos, but in all the different languages, and I have saved them. So all of these I can listen to again if I press the audio icon in any language, and I can keep this with me because I'm signed into my account. When you sign into your account, you only have to sign in once and you've got access to all of the Google tools. So that's Phrasebook, and that's the part where I didn't quite know if everybody knew about that. So we're going to go back to the slideshow. Here are a bunch of Chrome extensions. Now you're going to have this in the PDF. I went through and I looked for some educational extensions. Some of them are or for English, some of them are learning English, some of them are, as this one by a Digital Human, that is an app that you can have installed on your Chrome browser, and it's basically a direct link into the application, so you don't have to sign in twice. There's also some chart and productivity apps that are available and extensions. There's a bunch of different dictionaries. There's Google Tone here. So all of these are direct links that go to the app on Google Chrome Web Store. So you don't have to do any searching for it. It's right here. Here's the Wii Video, where you can actually do real-time video editing and recording using Google Chrome. Next slide. Docs, Sheets, Slides, Forms, and Draw and Keep are all core to Google Drive. Now, the reason that this doc icon has a red line around it is that it is core with more. If you go to the App Store or the Google Play Store, you'll be actually able to download and install Docs, Slides, and Sheets. All of these with the red around them, you can install those on your smartphone or on your tablet. Forms does not have a red line around it because it's core, but it's not core with more. So you're not able yet to install this on a tablet or a smartphone. However, if you have Chrome installed on your tablet, you can certainly go to forums.google.com and you can open it that way. It's just not a separate app yet. And what I mean by that is I can actually go to docs.google.com or sheets.google.com or slides.google.com, and I'm taken to the Google Doc app interface. So you notice I didn't have to go to Drive. I went to Docs directly. So docs.google.com, slides.google.com, sheets.google.com. You can go to any one of those and it will go directly to the app. Next up, and this is going to be the last thing we cover because we're running out of time, we're going to briefly discuss Google Draw. Now, Draw is an integral part already of Google Slides. So there are a bunch of draw tools here in Google Slides. So what you can do in Draw is you can save all of your drawings that you're doing for a project. Maybe you're doing a brochure or you're doing a newsletter. It's not going to be a slideshow. You're actually going to make a brochure. So you can save all of your images in one file. You don't have to have 30 image files for that brochure project that you're making. You can put them all in one file, and then you can copy and paste them or download each image separately or all at once if you want. Or you can actually create the brochure in Draw. Whatever you want to do. So that's the one advantage to using the Draw tool instead of the Slides tool to create drawings. I'm going to stay in the Slides tool just so I can show you some things. Here's an overlaid demo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that you can use a polyline to draw around. Maybe I just want this part of the mailbox, because I can't really draw that using their shapes. So I'm just clicking and there we go. There's the shape. Boom. So now I could take that, and I could copy it. And then I could draw lines, and then you could maybe have a piece of toast or something that kind of looks like, or you just want to stack them up so that they look like something together. But when you double click on these, because I use the polyline tool. When I double click on it, I can now manipulate it even more, and I can shape it out or in. I can do all kinds of things with that shape when I use the polyline tool. So really cool tool there. When you use a shape, this little guy right here, this arrow, when you see a gold arrow or a gold handle on a shape that you've drawn, click it and drag it just to see what happens, because it will do all kinds of neat things for you. It's going to make it wider, smaller. It's going to maybe tilt it. Okay. And if you right click on a shape after you've drawn it, you can go to Format Options, and you can see where you can add a drop shadow. You can add reflection. Okay. We don't really want the reflection. So with every shape that you draw, you can type in the object. And that's really neat, because when you click and drag the object, the text goes with it. I don't have to worry about copying and pasting or grouping things together. It's already there for me. And text, when you insert text, you can do the same thing to the text that you could if it was just a paragraph. So you can right a line, you can left a line, you can do all kinds of neat stuff. So this is a really cool thing about the shapes. All the shapes are within the shape tool, which looks like a circle and a square. And there's, oh gosh, there's so many shapes here. And again, look for that gold handle, because some of these, when you use that gold handle, you're going to end up with some pretty rockin' shapes, believe me. Lots of different arrows that you can use. There's some call outs here. I like this one here where you can like have a little burst. Oh, they even call it explosion. You also have equation, where you can actually type within these parentheses, and the equation comes out, which is really cool on a slideshow or a slide deck where you're doing math equations for your students. The last thing I'm going to show you here is the gradient tool. So this is already gradientized, and then I'm just going to make it a solid color, because that's normally what people do. They make their shapes solid colors because they don't know about the gradients, or maybe they don't want to. But if they don't know about it, I'm just playing with the there we go. Playing with those gold handles a little bit. So I've got my shape, and I've typed in it. I don't have to. I'm going to take that out. Right? Got my shape. And I'm going to go back to this color, the bucket, or paint bucket, whatever you want to call it. Now they've already got some predetermined gradients, which I could use. That one's kind of cool. Kind of a dark. If I want it red, there we go. So you can see you've got gradients that can be used already. And based on the theme of your slide deck, they will also give you some other variations based on the theme. Now these are some custom gradients that I've already created. And I don't know if you noticed this, but on the first slide, you should have seen something that looked, well, a lot bigger, but similar to this. So you can save your gradients as you go along. Now, so if I want to customize my gradients, or if I want to, let's say I have this red one and I really want it to be different, I can, after I've selected it, I go to custom, and I can change the dark area to a different color by clicking on that stop, and then let's just make it a different color. Boom. So now I've got an orange outline with the red insert, which you can't really see all that well, but if I change the last stop to, let's say, yellow, now you see it a little bit more. You can also change the type of gradient it is. Right now it's center aligned. I can make or it's a radial. Radial means it's circle, right? So this is a radial gradient. And if I want this pop right here, this center pop out to be at the top left, I just click top left, boom, or top right, or wherever you want it. Okay. You can also add stops. So I'm going to hit the plus sign. It automatically goes to the middle. And I'm going to select blue just to be different. And I can move it down, and I can move it up. Now you can only move the stops that you add. You cannot move the You cannot move the left and the right, but you can move the ones that you have in the middle. So if we add another one and we make that more of a red, now we're really popping it out, right? So you can add, and you know, you have rainbow colors and everything. You can also change from radial to linear. Okay, that's how you get your horizon. You can change the angle on linear, so you get up and down instead of back and forth, or you can have it at an angle. Oops, there we go. You can have it at an angle. And then again, you can decide where your gradients go together or not. There's more of a line there. Lots of cool stuff that you can do with Draw. Anything that you can do in Photoshop, almost, you can do in Draw. Guaranteed. All right, and there's our graphic, all nice and new and ready to rock and roll. Now, I told you that this was going to be the last thing I was going to cover. I lied. This is actually going to be the last thing I cover, Google Classroom, because it is such a cool tool that you can use in any type of Google. You can use it in the club or the pub. The only thing you need to remember is that the pub teacher has to share with the pub student, or the club teacher has to share with the club student. You cannot share club to pub or pub to club. So you have to be on the same domain. So if you have @gmail.com, you can share with anybody else that has @gmail.com. If you're on a club and you have a domain that is at your school site @edu, or if you're on a club and you have a domain that is school at school if you're on an edu and you have a club that its domain is at schoolsite.edu, then your students have to use the same domain at schoolsite.edu. If they don't have that domain, just create a pub, but make sure that you follow your site's acceptable use policy. All right, folks, that is it. We are done. Woohoo! And if you want any more information about this or any other workshops that AEBG TAP can arrange for you, you can go to the California Adult Education website at caladulted.org and submit a support request for more training.